right, so we're going to actually get started now on our drawing. We're doing some interesting still life, just some nice pencils, pens, watercolor brushes, a nice, beautiful white cup here. So we have a white coffee mug. So we're going to use this, and I have some tissues in there. So this can help me to position my subject matter, additional subject matter. I have some brushes and pencils and markers and things. So we're going to take these and put them into the mug, the white coffee mug, and I'll set them up across from me to the right. And I'm setting them up at eye level. So if you can imagine, when I'm looking across from me while I'm drawing and painting, everything's going to be at eye level. So I'm not going to see like any three-dimensional angles, things like that. I'm just going to be seeing straight across from me. So like my coffee cup is going to be like this. I'll just see my coffee mug like this straight. If I was looking down on the subject matter, I'd see maybe the top of the mug like this. So I'm going to set it up so that it's just straight like that, two-dimensional. Makes it easier to draw and paint. And then we have, of course, again, the brushes. We have some watercolor brushes here and some pencils and markers. So I'm just going to set these into my mug across from me. We'll draw it. We'll paint it. We'll have fun. Let's do it. You ready? All right, let's go. I'm going to set this across from me, and I just have it on a white foam board. Basically, my white foam board is just like this, except larger. I made a miniature version of it so you can see how I did it. I just put two pieces of large foam board, approximately 18 or 20 inches by like 30 inches each piece, taped them together like that, and I made just an L. So an L shape with it like that, more or less like this. You tape it together, and then I just set this on the table across from me, and I put my subject matter on there. So if I'm putting my mug on there or, whatever it is, I just set it on here. And this way I have a nice white backdrop and I have a nice white tabletop. So that's what I use. Very inexpensive to do. A couple dollars for maybe $3, $4 for the foam board. Another couple dollars for a roll of some tape to tape it together. I use my artist tape to tape it together, and that's really all you need. And you just set it on top of boxes. So what I did is I took some moving boxes and set them up on my table so that when I sit my foam board on top of my boxes, it's right at eye level. So it's just like that. When it's at eye level, it's perfectly straight, just like that. So I'm not seeing any angles like this or like this. It's sitting just straight like that. And that's all. That's really the simplicity of it. So we're going to keep prepping here. We're going to get started. I'm going to put my brushes in my mug, my pencils and pens. Here we go. I'm going to set those in there. And I use the tissues to position everything so that it perfect. Okay, that's all set up. Now all I need is my pencil, so we can do our pencil drawing right now. Let's get that set up here. I'm going to get my mechanical pencil, so I have a nice number 7 mechanical, or there's a number 9 mechanical pencil made by Pentel. Pentel makes really nice, really enjoyable quality mechanical pencils. It's got the rubber front portion of the pencil, so you have more of a grip on that. You can kind of grip your pencil as you're drawing. If you're sweating a little bit, whatever, it kind of adds to a firmer, better grip. And that's all we really need. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to look across from me. And I'm going to say, let's make the coffee mug about there, the bottom of the mug there. We'll worry about the backdrop later. Let's just get we want to keep the coffee cup, the coffee mug lower in the picture frame or the rectangle here. So we're working within our rectangle. You can see just the bottom of the tape there. I'll zoom out just a little bit. So we have our rectangle formed out with our tape, our artist tape, like that. That gives us our rectangle, our picture frame. And I'm going to keep the bottom of the cup, again, lower. I want to keep it lower in the composition here, so it has like a weighted feel. So it feels like it's sitting in the picture, like resting upon the table, kind of weighted down on the bottom. If we were to put the cup higher up in the picture here, it would kind of look like it's floating off, maybe floating off into you know, the space, you know, whatever. So let's keep it anchored down. Let's keep it lower. So that's about where we're going to have it. And we'll just start out here. Simple composition again. We're just having a time of practicing our skills, our drawing skills, our painting skills. So I'm going to start my cup here. I'm going to go with the bottom of my mug here. I might make a slight angle to it, or you know, a slight radius to it, and put a little bit of curve to it. And then we're going to do our handle, and it's pretty much straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here and just sort of see how this lines up with this below, and I say, yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we're in good shape here. And this comes up like so. So it flares out a little bit here. And we're going to go around and make a slight and we're going to flare this out just a little bit like that. And that looks pretty good. Okay, now we'll come over here. This is here. And I'm just careful to put this over here like so. Like that. Good. Now we're going to do a slight light sketch of a line under here. The coffee mug flares out a little bit there. And that looks pretty good. Now we will take our paintbrush here. So our paintbrush to the left. Then we have our pencil here. That's our blue pencil. Black, white stripe here. Then up here we have our large and I'm going to actually see if I can extend this up a little bit. I kind of cramped myself in here with my drawing. I'm going to want to actually raise up my tape, and thankfully I have extra paper on this section up here. So let me this is much better. I made a little more room for myself here, like that. Now I can take a kneaded eraser. And if anything, when you're drawing, try to leave yourself a little bit of extra room. Here I kind of cramped myself in. So I just erased a little bit of the top here. And there we go. So now I can get the true top of the brush, paintbrush. And then here we have Another brush, we have another watercolor brush here. Got the ferrule there. And we got the brush portion there. So we have two watercolor brushes next to each other. We have another flat brush, square brush over here. And what else do we have? Okay, over here we have a pencil that's kind of leaning next to that. And that's sort of, it's got some lines there, and the eraser. And one more, we might have to add something in here. And we have another pen, felt tip pen here. So we have a lot of stuff in here, a lot of pens and pencils and brushes. Maybe I'll add something else in here just to give it a little more. What else do we have in there? Let's put something else. Okay, I'm going to put another pen. Here, I'm going to put another pen. And then another pen over here. That looks good. All right, so we have it. There we go. And we have a shadow. Let's put a little bit of a shadow just with light pencil. And we have a stripe across here. Let's get that in. And then maybe we'll get our tabletop over here. So let's get our table situated here, our level line for our table. And this way, if we go in and do some, if we do some background, we have our tabletop line set up already for us, ready to go. And I think that's fine. So first thing we did is just we made sure we got our mug set lower in the picture frame, so we didn't want it kind of floating up too high. Also gives us more room up here to put our pencils and pens. And then once that's accomplished, we did our contour drawing of the mug. We did our pens and pencils, brushes, and then we just got our backdrop started here, which is the back of our table, or our foam board basically. So we have our foam board set up here. This is the back line of the foam board, or we could pretend this is a white table, like a white tablecloth, and we're having our subject matter on top of a white tablecloth. Our light, always remember, we want to just make sure when we're doing our drawings, our paintings, let's make sure we draw in our insignia for our light source. So our light source is coming from this side, shining down. And that alerts us to the shadow over here on this side and the bright light shining across the cup on this side, as well as the light cascading and raking down on the left side of all of these brushes. So the right side of all the brushes and pens, for the most part, is going to have a little bit of a shadow on this side of the brushes and the pencils and so forth, and pens. And this side will be the light side. So I think we're good. We have everything all set up. Let's have fun. Let's start getting into all the colors, the excitement of the washes and the colors of our paints and our painting, and we'll have a great time at it. And it's a simple thing we can all do. Just grab our cup, coffee cup, teacup, whatever it is, put some pencils and brushes and some things in there, draw it first, and then we're gonna just get in and do the painting part, and we're just gonna make sure that we follow the light pattern. The light pattern is, again, coming from here. The light, I have a light set up, a spotlight shining on my subject, my mug and pens and pencils and pens, and the light's just coming across this way. So we'll discuss and go step by step how we do the paint and the shadows and the light in this painting. Okay, so we'll be right back. And I always mention, hey, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. You just hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell right next to it. This way you're alerted to when we create our videos. We create our videos at least 1, 2, 3 times a week. We're doing more drawing videos now, so I'm starting to upload more drawing videos on my channel here. So I want everyone to start practicing up on your drawing skills. It's really crucial for your watercolors. If you keep practicing your drawing skills, you'll be able to handle simple drawings like this with no problem at all, because you've been practicing on a daily basis, or every couple days. You're drawing a pencil, you draw a pen once in a while, you draw a paintbrush every once in a while, and after a while, you build up your sight, your vision, your drawing skills, your senses, so that you're able to just have a really good, strong feel of rendering things like coffee cups, mugs, brushes, pens, pencils, things that are maybe a little more simple, versus if you're trying to do the human form. If you're trying to do portrait painting, you're trying to draw the human form, the body. Things like that are very, very complex. If you start off drawing all of your more simple subject matter, like fruit, cups, pens, pencils, things like that, you start doing that on a consistent basis, you'll be able to render your portrait paintings and your portrait drawings and your figure drawing. That will come a lot easier if you're tackling all of these more simple shapes and designs that we're doing here. So, all right, everybody, come on, let's get started soon. Take a break, get yourself a cup of water, glass of water, a cup of tea, coffee, whatever you're going to have. Take a break, come back in 10-15 minutes, and we'll start our painting. All right, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. All right, we're getting back into business here. We're actually getting started to get back into our painting now. We've got our pencil drawing completed. I'm going to use a 5 and a 6 watercolor brush. These are Kolinsky Sable brushes with good points. You can see they're very sharp points on there. I like these 2 brushes a lot. This one's a Da Vinci travel brush, and this one's a Kolinsky Sable by Raphael. We'll start off with the smaller brush to get in our maybe our smaller, thinner portions of our pencils and brushes and things. And then maybe once we get into the mug, the coffee mug, in the background, we'll use our number 6 Raphael watercolor brush. All right, so now let's just get started here. And I'm not going to really show my palette. Really, I have a simple palette. You can see I've done many videos on my palette, so you can just look up Chris Petrie palette. You'll see all my colors there. I'd rather kind of zoom in on this and really highlight this portion, the painting portion, so you can see close up what's happening with the paints and the brush and everything. So let's get started. We're going to, we'll do the silver. Let's see, let's get some blue, cerulean blue, French ultramarine blue, burnt umber. We'll get some color out. Let's maybe do some darks here. Yeah, let's do a little bit of the darks. Burnt umber, French ultramarine blue. So I'm going to go across there, and let me establish that first dark. And that's the flat brush, the square brush, Da Vinci square brush. So I want to get that dark in there to start with. And then we can go in and I'll get some warm colors too, some raw sienna and some yellow ochre, so we can get some So we're looking at this metal color now. I'm going to leave some space between the metal part of the brush here. Just like that. So that's sort of a grayish color. Some cerulean blue, some yellow ochre, a little bit of the other mix which we made, which was French ultramarine blue and burnt umber for that really, really dark here. And then we'll go in and we'll get some more French ultramarine blue and some burnt umber. Let's even go with some raw umber. And we'll use some burnt umber and raw umber to give it a medium brown color. And we'll see if we can get some of that nice brown natural hairbrush color of the Da Vinci brush, the flat brush here. That looks pretty good. All right, now let's we can add in a little bit of shadowing over here on this side. The light's coming from the right this way, so we can add a little bit of that cerulean blue, French ultramarine blue, and burnt umber to the right side here while it's still wet, just to give us a little bit of that shadow feel. Then we're going to go in, we're going to get cobalt blue, straight cobalt blue, and let's get some nice cobalt blue going here. And you can see I'm taking my time here. And then we can go with a little bit of French ultramarine blue with a touch of burnt umber just to give a shadow on this side. See how we add that little bit of shadow, a little bit of darker tone and value on the right side of that pencil here. Looks good. Then we can go with some, let's go, we're going to go into our black. So I'm going to go in and get a little bit of ivory black. This is black here. So I'll get some ivory black for the top of this pencil. Like that. All right, now we're going to do cadmium red, straight out of the tube paint. No, I'm not using any water really, to be honest. The only water I'm really using right now is the dampness of my brush as I rinse it out in my bucket and then kind of tap it off, shake it off a little bit. You can also dab it on a sponge or something like that. So basically I'm just using the straight paint here, cadmium red. Then with the cadmium red, I'm going to go with a light cadmium red because there is a darker plastic over this area of the brush where the ferrule is. So I'm just going to put a little bit of cerulean blue on there to give it a little bit of a grayish tone. You can also use a tissue to blot up some paint like that. And then go back in with some cerulean blue. Like that. That looks good. And then before you know it, we're doing the brush hairs. So that kind of takes off the pressure of that bluish color there. I don't know if that looks so great. It looks all right. But once you get that brush hair like that, straight paint, good, looks very good. Again, we can tap up some paint on the left side of the brush. We could even rinse off our brush and then dry it off, and then just lift up a little bit of paint. That gives us a little more of the feeling of shadow and light. Then like a little bit of maybe French ultramarine blue on this side. There we go. Okay, and then now we're going to do a yellow ochre and burnt umber for the handle on this brush here. And then some metal feel. That's the brass. There's some brass on this paintbrush. And burnt umber for the hairs of the brush. And then I rinse off the brush and maybe put some yellow ochre on this side here. That looks pretty good. And let's go, we're just moving right along, left to right, all the way across. And then we will use a little bit of blue, French ultramarine blue. You can add some shadow like that. Over here, I see some shadow from our blue. And then we have we'll do our pencil, office pencil there, cadmium yellow. Cadmium yellow, a little bit of yellow ochre. And I'm trying to just get that. All right, we're moving right along here. This is pen. Okay. So this is a grayish color here. That's our and that's another cadmium red. So I'll put the cadmium red right down the center of the cap. That's the cap of the red marker. Then for the light side, I'm going to maybe use a little bit of alizarin crimson to lighten that up a little bit, and then a little bit of blue on this side, a little bit of that French ultramarine and burnt umber, just a darker, and then add in a little more cadmium red like that. Okay, that's looking good. I'm going to do my pen. Okay, that's the pen, and maybe a little warm. And then another bit of black, and this is ivory black, and I'm going to try to get that's metal. Okay, I'll leave that a little bit mysterious over here. That looks good. And what else do we have over there? Oh, we have another pen. Blue orange. I would say that's another blue. That's a blue felt tip pen over here. And then we have that grayish color there. And we'll let that dry a little bit, and we'll maybe add some more shadow. We could add some shadow to this here. Like that. All right, looks good. And you can see we worked our way right across, left to right. We will add a little bit of highlight, maybe, I'm thinking maybe toward the end of the painting we'll add a little bit of highlights to capture back some highlights and such. So we have the eraser there. Then there's some green, sap green. There we go. Okay, now's the perfect time to take a break. We did quite a bit of work here, you can see. We worked right on through, started at the left. Started off with our darkest dark, burnt umber, French ultramarine blue. Then we mixed a little bit of a gray, and we made some cerulean blue and some of that other French ultramarine and burnt umber mix with a little bit of yellow ochre. And then here we use burnt umber, a little bit of raw umber for the brush hairs for our square brush. Then we just, worked across. We used cobalt blue and French ultramarine blue on the shadow side, the French ultramarine blue, for our blue pencil with a black top, ivory black. And then we did our watercolor brush. This is a cadmium red brush. And we added a little shadow on the left side from the pencil, and also we needed a little bit of shadow too on the right side. Then we have another watercolor brush. We use brown and raw umber, and then a little bit of raw umber and cerulean blue for the brass portion here, and the burnt umber again for our brush hairs. We use cadmium. We use the cadmium yellow and yellow ochre mixture for our pencil, office pencil, and then we did a couple Sharpies, a red Sharpie and a blue one, cadmium red, and we use cobalt blue and French ultramarine on this cap of the Sharpie pens. And then I have here my Uniball Vision Elite pen I use all the time to draw. Very sharp point, very nice, fine point pen. And we did that over here. We can add a little more shadowing to that. So I'll take a little French ultramarine blue and burnt umber. And maybe we'll get some darker shadowing on the left side of this here. Just a touch makes it look a little more interesting, like that. And we'll add a little bit of highlights to it too, maybe in a little while. But other than that, let's take a quick break. We've done a lot so far. Now we're going to do our mug, and our table with a little bit of background, and we'll be all finished. So it's a really nice painting, goes fast, lots of color, lots of interesting things going on. We practice our brush skills, keeping our hand resting on the paper as we paint, nice and secure. And we just do our upstrokes all the way across like this as we go, touching around here and there. But we really, basically, we're doing mostly all upstrokes all the way through, doing our vertical subject matter like this. And now that that's complete, we'll get in here and we'll do some more larger brushwork. We'll use a number 6 Raphael watercolor brush, this one here. Great brush, I use this all the time for medium-sized paintings. We'll go in, we'll do some background, some shadowing on the mug. We'll do some, it's a white mug, so we're just gonna have very little wash on the mug, actually. And we'll finish up here. But again, take a break. It's always good to take a couple of minutes or so, you know, just to relax. We relax a little bit, and then we'll get back into it, okay? And hey, don't forget to subscribe. Please hit that subscribe button. We're coming out with new videos every week. Exciting stuff. We do still lifes like this. We do landscapes, seascapes, flower paintings, cityscapes. We do wet and wet methods. We do alla prima method painting for watercolor painting. We do ink and wash painting. We do it all here. Watercolors, everything, wet-based mediums. And come on back just in a few minutes, and we're going to get back started and get our mug painted and the rest of this going. And we'll see you in just a second. All right, we are back. We're ready to complete our painting here. I think we can pretty much finish everything up now in the last 10-15 minutes of this video. We got in our key information here, our painting, our subject matter. We did all of our pens and our brushes and our pencils and so forth in our mug. So now we're just going to render in our mug, some background washes, maybe a little bit of shadowing on the mug here, and we should be good. So I'll start out, just going to go back in and use some cerulean blue and some yellow ochre. And we'll just go right, I'm going to go right under here. This is sort of like where so I'm just taking my brush and getting that cerulean and yellow ochre onto the paper here. So you can see I'm mixing in the two to give a nice. Then what I'll do is I'll dampen my brush, rinse my brush off, tap a little bit of water off on some tissue, and then let's just fade this in nice. So we'll sort of like that. Rinse off the brush again. And then more shadowing here. I see some shadow on here on the handle. And then it sort of disappears there. And then it goes across here, up this way. A little bit there. Some more shadowing over here. And then a little bit of cerulean blue and yellow ochre. Okay, and I'm just trying to look at the shadows across from me where my mug is set up, and I have a spotlight. This seems to be more of a shadow here than the light picks up over there. And we're going to have some burnt umber and French ultramarine blue. Maybe a little bit of that ivory black mixed in there too, just to give it. And I'll do a little bit of, we have a stripe there. And a stripe over here like that. And I'm just starting to see a little bit of more shadow there. And some shadow over here, like so. Okay. Then, again, more cerulean blue and yellow ochre. And some shadow that way. And we will make a little bit of a background for this. Cerulean blue, yellow ochre. Cobalt blue, maybe a little bit of cobalt blue just to give it a little bit of a change in color. And there we go. Just a little bit of a wash over here. A little bit of yellow ochre over here. A little more cerulean blue. A couple splashes. And the same over here. Pick up some wash. I'm using the wash I had over there. Cerulean blue, yellow ochre, then a little bit of cobalt. There we go. Then I rinse my brush off, leave the water in there, and just add that water in the wash there that I put down, and you can just kind of and a little bit of yellow gold there, some yellow ochre, a little bit of cerulean blue, and I just try to add a couple splashes here and there just to make it look interesting. A little bit of cerulean blue over here along this. Makes that white cup stand out with a little bit of cerulean over here on the left side of that edge of the coffee cup there. And we have some splashes there. If you think you go overboard with the splashes, you can lift them up. Actually, you can just here and there. If you a wash area, you can lift up with a tissue. If you think you went too much and you don't like the way it looks, you can you got to do it fast though with the lifting up. If you want to lift up some splashes or some washes, you just do it quick. And it usually works out good. And I'll do a couple of splashes down here. But as you can see, this looks fine. You can add a few more, maybe a little bit of a very little touch of wash underneath here where the mug is here. Like that. You can put a little touch of cadmium yellow on the white of the mug here. That kind of gives it a nice bright feel. I see a little bit of a darker shadow there. And this is where you can sometimes get a little more exciting shadow areas where you can really kind of just give it that a little bit of extra detail of shadowing. If you see it across from you where you have your mug and your still life setup, your mug and your pencils and pens and brushes and everything. If you carefully look at your subject matter, you can sometimes see a little bit of an extra dark here and there. And that's when you're finishing up your painting, you can say, oh wow, yeah, I can definitely add a few more darker areas. So I see a couple of things that I can add a little darker tonal value to it, and it makes it more. Just makes it a little more exciting, capturing that real shadow feel. Okay, so I feel like we've really we've got the main feel for this completed. Everything looks in good. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre to some of the shadows down below. I also I mentioned too, we can also use sometimes a little bit of white, titanium white with a little bit, just a touch, just a little tiny bit of yellow ochre in there. You mix that up in the top of the tube of paint, the white, yellow ochre and just a little bit of the titanium white. So we mix that up in there like so. And then if you have a couple highlights you want to... So the pen, I thought we could use a couple highlights there. Just a few. And then maybe there. And there, I thought there might be like that. That looks good. Maybe a few here. And again, with your highlights, with a little bit of titanium white and yellow ochre mixed in to the top of the tube of paint, to just give you that little bit of like warm white there. So you don't want it to you want it to have a little bit of that warmth of the sunlight, the yellow ochre, just a touch of that into your white paint. You just want to do this in a few spots, not more than 2 or 3 spots maybe, and that's it. Because if you keep adding this, it gets to it just doesn't look as good when you just do a few spots here and there. So let's try to just have a few areas that we do it. Maybe here. And that looks fine. Okay, now if this picture turns out really good for you, then you can take you know, a pen or a pencil. You can sign it. And you can frame it. Sign it, frame it. Put a nice mat over the top, a nice white mat, off-white mat. Find something you like in the store. You go out to the store maybe. Online you can find some good mats too. I'll peel off the tape here. This can be a nice gift if you mat it and frame it. You can give this as a gift to someone. Maybe someone that likes to do artwork. You know, they find that exciting, seeing the brushes and the magic markers and things. And I'm looking at the magic marker. I can kind of see, I think this one here, the red felt tip pen, that can be a little more. I think that, yeah, that looks a little better there. That was a little. So I added some red to my, you know, you can look at the felt tip pen here. Sometimes you can see some things when you're kind of finishing up your painting and you step back and you look at it. And that's another thing too. You can always give it a day or two and then go back and look at it and see if you need a little more touch-ups to it. But I think less touch-ups is better. And there we have it. We'll just zoom in a little more. I think I see something else. So I'm starting to see things now as I finish up. There's some shadowing. Cerulean blue I'm going to use over here. And then I'll mix in that little bit of that. And then I can do that, lift that up, take a little bit of cerulean blue, and we'll actually, let me zoom in here. This will be a little more of an interesting study to zoom in. So here we go. If we want to paint the other side of this mug on the other side, we could just go around with a little bit of cerulean blue over here like that. Maybe a little bit of cobalt blue. I went back into the palette and just picked up a few of the washes, the blue. And I just fade this over this way, like that. So you can do a little bit of highlighting, negative shade painting, where you paint around certain areas to make it stand out a little more. So if I take that cerulean blue that I have in my, like that, and I do that, and then I soften it out a little bit like so. That looks a little better, I think. And we have that shadow in here like so. I don't think there was any shadow there so much. There was more of a cerulean, cobalt blue over here actually. Okay, that might work a little bit, that small spot of white that I highlighted with the negative shade painting around the top of it. May not make a big difference, but that little subtle type of thing, when you zoom back and look at it from a little more of a distance, it kind of looks a little better. All right, so everyone, have fun with this. Enjoy. Take your time. Do some pencil drawings. Maybe do a few pencil drawings of this first on some printer paper, just for fun. Get used to the subject matter, doing the drawings. Then you get your good sheet of watercolor paper out once you're completed. I'm using Fabriano rough extra white paper here. This is like really the best you can buy. So before you go in and start painting and doing a really finished painting, do a couple sketches first, practice up on the overall feel of the drawing, the composition, and then you go in and you do your final drawing and painting on your watercolor paper. That'll give you a lot of extra practice on the pencils, the brushes, the pen. You can also add different things in here too. You might add some other things I'm not thinking of right now, but different style brushes or your favorite pens or pencils, whatever you want to do. The thing is, if you practice it a few times first on some printer paper, just sketching it out with a pencil, drawing it, you'll have a much better time when you go in and start doing your final watercolor painting, where you're getting out some better watercolor paper and you're ready to do your finished painting. All right, again, everyone, thanks so much for coming by. I appreciate it. Thank you again for following me. Everyone, I know that, you just thanks so much for all the great comments. Everyone is really so gracious and kind to me in the comment section. We have a great time in there chatting back and forth. And I hope everyone is just making lots of progress with their watercolors, having a good time with it, enjoying it. And we'll see you in the next video very soon. Until then, we'll wish you the best and best of success and happy painting.